Hey, hey y'all. If y'all only knew what a sister got to go through, honey, to get this thing started. Hi y'all. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I'm so happy to be before you. Let me um let me type in the title. What did I say the title was going to be today, y'all? Hi, y'all. Please tag some other people in. Sorry for the little delay. We're about to get started. Let me type in the title and pin it. How about I do that? Let's see. Choosing you. Oh, the girl can't type today. Choosing yourself. And this iPhone need to stop putting in words that I'm not putting in. Dang. Setting boundaries. Hey y'all. Come on in. Come on in, y'all. Okay, good evening. Hello. All you beautiful people. Let me pin my comment. Bam. Hi y'all. Let me go ahead and add my lovely guests. Y'all are in for a treat, okay? Y'all are in for a treat. I'm so happy. God is good. God is doing some amazing things. I just want to give a shout out to Jesus or whoever it is that your spiritual leader is. But mine is Jesus Christ. So I just want to say that I am so blessed and honored to have Miss Kai here. We're going to introduce ourselves in just a second. Hi, Kai.
Hey, girl. Hi, Wendy.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. I am so honored to have you join me. I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this beautiful Black woman has a lovely story. And I mean, I'm like, her spirit is so good about it. So we ain't about to play with y'all. Let's get it in.
Yeah.
And so,
Thank you, Wendy.
so I am going to introduce myself. I am Wendy Wisdom. Of course, y'all know why I go by Wendy Wisdom. My real name is Wendy Williams. Okay, that wasn't going to work in the internet space. So I go by Wendy Wisdom. And I'm a licensed professional social worker, mental health therapist, everything, all things mental health. And I just want to help people to challenge themselves to have a better relationship with themselves and others. But in order to do that, they have to break through some of the things that they learned, which may not be so fruitful to them becoming their best selves. So anyway, let me have my guest introduce herself.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Kai Michelle. That's what I'm going to go off of today. I don't want to release the government name. But I'm so happy and pleased and honored to be here with you, Wendy. I connected with you just recently on Clubhouse. And
Yes.
the power of connecting, via social media. So, that's another subject matter, but it's so amazing to be here.
Yeah.
I reside in the Dallas Fort Worth area,
Okay.
and I am in the area of criminal justice. I work in the judicial system. Specifically, I work with sex offenders, and I have a background in social work, counseling, different therapeutic services, addressing mental health and wellness. And I'm so happy to be here and talk about this subject matter.
You sound kind of low. Hold on. Is it
Do
my
I sound
phone?
really low?
Okay, now
Oh,
you
because
sound
of
louder. You sound
my. Okay,
louder
so I have
just
to
now.
speak up. Okay.
Yes, 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 yes. So speak up. Thank you, ma'am. So, tonight's title, we came up with it together. The focus is choosing you. And we were talking about how it's not the easiest thing to do, especially when you're doing it with those that you love and you care about. It is not easy. Of course, you see posts that say, you know, uh, choose you, set boundaries, and all of that good stuff. but nobody ever talks about like how hard it can be sometimes to do what's best for yourself, not have anybody make you feel guilty about it. And no matter what relationship it is, friendships, intimate partner, even with your employer, you know, you're going to have to set a boundary at some point. Okay. So we'll get more into the specifics of the boundaries towards the end, but I want to have Kai start with sharing her background, her story in this Surviving Mama Trauma series that I'm doing. The floor is yours, Kai.
Right, thank you. So I'm just gonna go off the cuff. I didn't, take any notes down. I tried to do that, but because I'm real organized, but I'm gonna just let the Holy Spirit lead. And I just want to, start by saying that the goal here is not to bash anybody,
Yes.
not to make anybody feel indifferent or make anybody feel bad, but the goal here is to set people free.
Yeah.
And to make sure that people are healed and get to a journey where they need to be in life, fulfilling their purpose. And so that's kind of where my stance is. I wanted to make sure that that was clear, because we're not placing blame. We're saying
At all.
we're stating facts, right?
Yeah.
We're doing facts. But we're also going to make sure that we address the issues at hand, the areas that we can improve on, and discuss solutions. I'm all about solutions. So I want to just, period. Yes. I wanted to start off with that. But my story kind of starts off, I always tell people that my issues with my mama trauma and drama started at conception, because my mother and father, they were never in a relationship. They met each other at the club. My dad was a DJ, and my mom was just a party goer, and they ended up hooking up that night. And I'm the result of that. And so a lot of the trauma that I endured over the years had to do with the fact that my mother, she really desired a relationship with my father. And that just wasn't something that she was able to ever obtain. And I've seen over the years her go through different things with other men, personal relationships with women that have directly and indirectly affected me as well. And the reason why I say that is because my lens, my perspective of what I experienced has, I'm in the home, I'm in a single parent home. So I'm receiving everything that she has endured. And her anger, her frustration with not being able to be with my father was definitely an issue. And those things manifested in my life. And so the way that those things manifested were that I just did not get regular medical, appointments to the doctor. I never went to the dentist. And so those types of things, although they are considered neglect, because we both work in the area of social work and dealing with people, they are considered neglect. And we have to be, real with the, with what's at hand and the subject matter that we're talking about. It's neglect. But back then I didn't know any better. I'm a child, right? So I don't know, if I should be going to the dentist or not. But if I had to choose, I'm not going to go, because nobody wants to go to the dentist, right? So it was just things like that where it manifested. And then even as my in my adolescent years, as my body started to change, my mom didn't have those discussions with me about my body, and how to prepare, for my cycle when it would come every month. I had to, even to this day, my relationship with my mother is so frayed that I'm almost afraid to talk with her about any issue. And so when it came to talking about sex, talking about boys, those conversations were never had in my household, because it was just something that you just never discussed. And it was no questions about it. I just could not approach her with that. And that's to this day. And I'm 36 years old today. And the thought of talking to my mom about sex is crazy. But the flip side of that is that I can talk about sex because I talk about it at work in my profession. I deal with people that have committed a sex crime, so I'm talking about sex all day. And I'm very comfortable with conversations such as that. But when it comes to my mother, there is a trauma, it's a deep-rooted trauma that has come generational, into my life, that I've had to now deal with and sort out and try to figure out how I'm going to deal with this. And so I was, as I've gotten older, I've learned to, put those things in compartments and be able to heal. And I've learned over the years to allow myself to heal in different ways where, because I didn't have anybody telling me, about credit, and, I'm talking about my body and stuff, I've mentioned those examples, but other ways that it manifested was, my mom didn't have discussions with me about finances, so I was out here making decisions, that I could have, really saved a lot of money, time, and energy if I would have just had somebody that was able to give me those things and those insights, because she had been through some things, right? And so you would think that a mother, especially me being her only child, that I would have the ability to have firsthand knowledge of any and everything that she would have experienced. And those things would have trickled down to me in a way where I could be able to, avoid making those decisions, that I actually did make in relationships, with friendships, with, platonic relationships. All those things were affected. And so, like I said earlier, I'm not taking the stance of, okay, I'm blaming her, I'm pointing fingers, but I'm trying to paint the picture as to, where it all started, because the person that has a child, that brings a child into this earth, they have to be responsible for how that child leaves that door. And when we go out into that world, we have to be able to be upstanding citizens, number one, and be able to take care of ourselves. And if we're lacking knowledge in any area, then it's going to be some problems in our life. And so even when I was in school, there was a lack of care, lack of concern. And I really attribute that to her just having a desire to be with my dad. And when I was a child, when I was very young, my relationship with my dad just flourished, and I was immediately connected to him. So I'm a daddy's girl,
Me too.
and what more could she hate, because she's already like having this disdain for my father. But then she has a daughter that looks exactly like his family. I have all the big features, big nose, big eyes, big eyebrows. Those things were a constant reminder to her that this is the man that I wanted. I could not get this man. And now I don't know if it's consciously or subconsciously, she at some point was literally showing me her disdain for my father through me.
Yes.
And so that resulted in some, poor decisions, early on, and me not having the ability to talk to my mother and feeling comfortable to talk to my mother. Things that happened, at the age of 12, where sexual assault came into my life, and, those types of things, very sensitive subject matters. And, those things could have been prevented had I had conversations or felt just comfortable to talk to my mother.
Yep.
And so that's kind of where it started.
Gotcha. So I wanted to touch on, so I'm glad you called a thing when you mentioned the neglect, because of course we know kids are supposed to get dental exams twice a year, annual physicals. It happens more often than not. And so I'm glad you highlighted that. But the main thing that is coming to mind is you being a daddy's girl. We have that in common. I'm a daddy's girl. Although my father he's my angel, okay? He's deceased, but I feel his presence all the time. And I definitely felt like I, received some of, I paid some good consequences for my daddy's actions. And I'm like, no kid should have to be in that predicament, right? And so it leaves you feeling torn, because you want your daddy's girl, but you want this relationship and connection with your mother.
Yes.
And so have you ever tried to talk to her about how it made you feel?
Yeah, so in my adult years, I mean, this is literally just a couple of years ago. So I did go through some relationship quarrels, and I was married, chose the completely wrong person, and I attribute that to my own decisions. A lot of things, happened because of me, and I'm taking responsibility for that. So when I was married, when that all fell to the ground, I explained some things to her, and I said, you never had these conversations with me about boys, about relationships, interpersonal relationships with friends, how to deal with coworkers, how, just stuff that you would think that your mother would talk to you about, ask me how your day was. Those type of conversations did not happen. So when I did have a conversation with my mother in my adult years, the response was, well, nobody ever talked to me about that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I realized that, okay, this is who my mother is. I can't get what I want out of her.
Yeah.
She's set in her ways. This is how my relationship with my mother is going to be. She doesn't see anything wrong with that disconnect that we have. There's
Yeah.
not a formal mother daughter bond. You know, even hugging was just kind of like, I mean, like if my mom was right here, I would just be like,
Really?
yeah, because it's like we were just never like lovey dovey. And like I
Yeah.
remember, like winning awards in school, and she would come sometimes. She would come to the ceremonies, and then she would just hug me real quick, and then just be gone. And it was like that trauma that she experienced as a child, because but you and I know that childhood trauma
Mm-hmm.
it magnifies in
Yeah.
adulthood. It
Yep.
magnifies in
Yep.
relationships. So if you don't deal with it, it's gonna be a problem in adulthood.
Yes,
Times
it
10.
is.
It's going to be like one of those magnifying glasses, the one times 10.
Yes.
That's what it's going to be like in adulthood. And
And
so,
that's why I do this, because people do not realize how it's all connected.
yes,
They really don't pay attention to that, or they just don't want to acknowledge it. And that's their right. But
yes.
keep on going, honey.
So, that was her response, and it was a real
Mhm.
response, right? I
It
appreciate her
was.
just being
Yeah.
raw with it, like nobody
Yeah.
taught me.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't have children yet. I do
Mhm.
desire to have children one day if God blesses me. And my desire, if I have a daughter, even my son, but if I have a daughter, my main objective and goal is to prevent her from ever going through anything that I ever went through.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
so important because that's a part of a mother's protection of her
Yeah.
child. You even see that in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
Mothers are maternal; they protect their children. In various aspects, and so a part of that protection, not receiving that's something as an adult I now seek from
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
Protection,
Yeah.
and even in relationships, that's one of the main priorities. Like I gotta feel like I'm protected, because if
Yeah.
I don't feel protected, then this is just gonna be null and void. Because I'm just gonna be out here, willy nilly, just
Yeah.
winging it like I've been doing. And I
Yeah.
knew that it was something not right about that, even as a child. I knew it wasn't right. I knew it wasn't right
Yeah.
that when I would come home, I was pretty much just kind of, fending for myself.
It was not.
I
Yeah.
would I would go make a little snack for myself. And by the time my mom, she was an entrepreneur, so by the time she finished her day, she was asleep. By
Yeah.
6, 7 o'clock, she
Mm.
was she was asleep. So I was in the house. I remember like 7 years old making concoctions of powder and glue and just doing all
Mm.
kind of stuff because I
Mhm.
had no supervision. I
Yeah.
was the only child.
Yeah.
And so those are the types of things that I had to endure. But again, those things, if they're not dealt with, they translate even to major issues as an adult. And
Right.
so with my mom saying that nobody told me this, nobody told me about my body. So why should I tell you? And you
Yeah.
would think it would be the opposite, but that just wasn't the case.
Yeah. And I think I shared with you. I was like, she said something to you that was real. A lot of people won't say it out of, a lot of mothers and fathers won't ever say it out of their mouth, but took a lot of times they are repeating what was done to them. And
Yes.
so I said, I give your mother big props for telling you here's why I'm doing it.
Mhm.
This is who I am.
Yeah.
And that's that. She ain't got nothing else to give you.
Yeah.
She did not make the effort, unfortunately, to break the cycle, to try to parent differently,
Mm-hmm.
to learn a different way to do it. She's just like, that's what it is. Nobody told me how to deal with a menstrual cycle. Nobody told me how to deal with men. And so she had to learn on her own. And unfortunately, she left you to kind of learn on your own. And another thing that came to mind, um, so you had mentioned that you did not have the best relationship or divorce, right? You didn't have the most
Mm-hmm.
positive situation. And so your mom, I guess, actually likes or wanted you to get back with your old situation.
Right. And the
And
main, I'm
no,
sorry.
go ahead.
The main reason behind that was because she had her agenda in mind. So there's a lot of selfishness, and that's one of the things I wanted to hone in on. It's a lot about the person's selfishness. You know,
Okay.
you can't be selfish as a parent. And so her ideal of me getting married, it was something that she didn't get to do or she has not done.
Gotcha.
And so it was like she was living through me. And a lot of parents do live through their
Yes.
children. And that can run several different ways, right?
Yeah.
You know, just living through your children, whether it's through sports, whether
Yeah.
it's through a marriage that you never had, whether it's through just any type of life experience that you never had. And so because she was just infatuated with the idea of her child being married, she
Yes.
didn't care what it looked like. She just wanted it to happen, and she wanted
Yeah.
it to stay like that because she was at the point where I'm gonna, retire. I'm gonna have my grandbabies, and I'm gonna just, do this and do that and the other. And when I was telling her that there was abuse involved, even that didn't register to her that, hey, we have a problem here.
Yeah.
It was still like, okay, well, you just deal with that because that's what my mama
Ooh.
did.
Yeah.
That's what I did, so it's like, and that brings forth the issues of the reoccurring and that cycle of abuse that is accepted
Yeah.
and, allowed to happen
Yeah.
because you just want a man.
Yeah.
That's really what it boiled down to.
Yeah.
And Wendy, you and I know we've been in some of these clubhouse, rooms where they've talked about relationships and they go really deep into, these mother-daughter relationships, these older Black women specifically, because I could speak to that, you could speak to that, because we're both African American,
Mhm.
Black,
Mhm.
we both melanated, and so we could
Yeah.
both speak to that. And for what it seems to me, and what I'm trying to get people to understand is that a lot of it has to do with the lack of ability to do certain things in their lives,
Yeah.
and they're either upset, jealous, or envious of
Mm.
someone else being able to break away from that
Yeah.
same stronghold. And every time I just laugh and crack up about it. I see this meme from time to time on social media, especially on Instagram, and it's Lisa Simpson, from The Simpsons.
Mhm.
She's in like this little meme, and she has a little spiky hair. She's like, why do I have to always be the person to break generational curses? And I resonated with that. I was like, I feel like I'm constantly breaking barriers. I was
Yeah.
the first person in my family to go to college. So I was first generation college student, totally winging it. Didn't know any idea about the whole process of applying to school. I had this old white lady, one of my English teachers. She was the person that said, no, you're applying to schools and you're going to get in, and you have the grades, you can get in. And so that's kind of why I went to even college, because my
Yeah.
parents, they didn't go to college. So they weren't
Mm.
having any discussions with me about school at all, any higher
Yeah.
education at all. They didn't ask me what I wanted to do for a living, like what I wanted to do, because in their generation, they would just get like this little, like if you got a city job, you were
Yeah.
good. Like if
Yeah.
you worked for the city that you lived in,
Yeah.
like you
Mhm.
were so good, right? And
Yeah.
so that was the mentality back then. And so they were just cool with me just like working at Macy's. Like if I had a job at Macy's, they would be so cool with that. And
Yeah.
they would, and that kind of just like, I just felt like that was so like, it disappointed me, because I'm like, I
Yeah.
had my peers that were like, AP scholars, and they're going to UCLA, USC,
Mm.
Berkeley, and I'm parallel with them, so I'm doing
Yeah.
everything they're doing, producing whatever they're producing, but my parents are not even having those discussions with me. And
Right.
so my mom, I remember very explicitly in high school, she said, I just want you to graduate. Whatever you do after that, that's on you.
Mm.
And
So what motivated? So your friends motivated you to go to college? Like they were
honestly,
like,
Miss Algene Ivory, she was an old white lady, English
okay.
teacher. She was the person that motivated me to go to college, because that wasn't even on my
Um,
radar. It
okay.
was not on my radar.
Yep.
And I wish I could find her, one of these days.
Yeah, to
I
let her
hope she's
know
still
that you're
alive.
doing well.
Yeah, but she was the person that said, no, you're going to go to school. But
Yeah.
even with that, just even thinking about me going to school, because we talked about this a little bit too, about the whole debt, because woo, that's a whole nother subject, right? Yeah, it's like, woo. So me going to school, I'm just
Yeah.
like, having to pay for it was not an option. I couldn't ask my parents for for $50, okay, for the deposit for the dorms. I had to literally, like literally, I had to go. I drove. I was in high school. I drove all the way. This was like 35 miles. I drove on the freeway, my little 8700. Of course, I'm on the freeway driving to the campus. Like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. And I had to beg the lady at the housing complex to just allow me to move in without paying that $50 because I
Yeah.
didn't have it. Because my,
Yeah.
I was working. I had a little job at Macy's, and I just, my parents was like, "Oh, school, okay, well that's an option. That's not. It's not life or death for you to go to school,
Right.
And they
Right.
weren't offering any money, and especially
Mhm.
my mom. Her thing was, why don't you just stay home? And that's even still to this
Thank God you didn't
day.
do that. Thank
Yes.
God you chose yourself. See, you didn't know
Yeah.
what you were doing back then, but you were choosing something that was different,
Yes.
something that was revolutionary, because when you don't have any models, any examples of the path to go on,
Hmm.
that's really revolutionary. Because you said that you're the first generation college graduate and in your family, and
Yeah.
with your mom. And so it's like you didn't realize, for one, you're a chosen one. Okay. God definitely had his hand on you, because just your level of self awareness and resilience, you could have just said, okay, let me go work at Macy's.
Hmm.
Probably would have got married, which you did, probably would have had three, four, five kids,
Yeah.
and been
Two baby
feeling
daddies.
overwhelmed and stuck and burdened. But you chose you, even in that young age,
Yes.
evolving into a grown woman, like, let me do something different. So shout out to the teacher that inspired you to go to college.
Miss
And
Ivory.
and so did you feel lonely? Like, did you feel like when your mom wanted you to stay home and just get a job, did you feel like you were doing something wrong by saying, you know what, I just want to go to school, let me stick with that?
I remember, being very like, sad, being able
Mm.
to move into the dorms. Like it took me a few loads. Like I remember my dad, he really wasn't available at the time. I think he was like back east somewhere doing something with one of my friends, a friend of the family basically. And she wasn't available. She was like, I don't even know what school you're going to. Like to this day, if you ask my mama what school I went to, she probably wouldn't tell you because she wouldn't know. But anyway, so
Baba.
when she told me that I should just stay home,
Yeah.
I'm packing stuff like I'm leaving. Like I'm literally 18 leaving the house, leaving the nest. And
Yeah.
she's telling me you should just stay. Like why would you do that? Why would you put more on yourself than you need to when you could just be here and we can
Yeah.
help each other?
Yeah.
And when she did say that, I just was thinking about it driving to school. And you know what? It really hit me when I saw all the my roommates, when their
Mm.
moms was like helping them. They had stuff they were carrying and they were putting stuff on walls.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting in my room like, wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was when I realized that, okay, my experience is a little bit different than other girls. And
Yeah.
my roommates, their friends, I mean, their mothers used to come over. Some of them were like too close because they were like friends. I'm like, I don't want that, it's a
Right.
fine line.
Yeah.
But their mothers would come over and just, cook with us and,
Mm.
foster those relationships that I so desperately wanted so
Yeah.
bad. I mean, even just to go to the nail shop with my mother, because I was always girly. And just to go to the nail shop with my mom to get our toes done or get a manicure. She just did not want to do any of that. And it was just like she was just kind of like, sometimes I felt like she was just disgusted with me, because she was, kind of having this guard up, and I
Yeah.
still was pushing past, every hurdle.
Yeah.
Despite what I was going through, I was still pushing past those things, not knowing what I was doing, but I was still
Mhm.
some type of way able to get to where I needed to be. And
That's
so that's my message at the end of the day. Like, don't ever let anybody make you feel like whatever your desire is, whatever your purpose is wrong. Because at worst, you're gonna fall on your face and then be able to get back up and do what you need to do. But for you to constantly have resistance, and people telling you, "Oh, girl, don't ever depend on no man. You
mm.
ain't ever gonna have no support for no man." This is coming from even her sisters. So all this feminine energy in that family, it's 9 girls, 2 boys that my grandmother had. And this is just my mom's side. And
Right.
so even with them, I didn't see any marriages. I think 2 of them were ever married. And so that says a lot in itself because I was
So wait,
constantly.
were you saying? So are you saying you had your grandma had 7
My
daughters?
grandmother had 11 kids.
Right, but I think
Mhm.
you said, but she had 7 girls,
So 9 girls,
9 girls, 9
nine
girls,
girls, and 2 boys.
and only 2 were ever married out of the 9 girls. Wow,
And the,
wow.
the uncles, the uncles that I saw were
Mhm.
like long-term uncles. Like they were my
Yeah.
uncles for like 20 plus years, 30, I'm only 36 and they've been my uncles since,
Wow.
birth. That's who I knew. But these were men that had whole families across the street, literally a whole wife across the street. But that was my uncle because that's
Yeah.
who I knew as that male figure in my aunt's life. And I'm just giving that as one example, right? But it really speaks to the fact that that was my surrounding. My family told me, like, don't ever depend on no man. You do what you need to do. You depend on yourself. You go to college. You're gonna make us proud. You're gonna be independent. You're gonna do all this, do that, boom, boom. And I was like on that track because I was like, I'm working in the
Yes.
courts and I'm
Yes.
doing good. I got my little money and I'm like,
Hmm.
doing really good and stuff. And then I mean, I even joined a sorority. So I was like, yeah, I'm doing really good. Yeah, this is cool. Like, I like
Yes.
this. Thinking I'm just doing everything right. And then I look around, I'm like, I'm 27, like, I ain't got no ring on my finger. I ain't even got a boyfriend. But I'm on this, like, feminist, like, track of,
Yeah.
get it, get it, get it. Don't worry about no man. You could just go and get it. And then it's like, well, when it's cold at night and, the holidays come around, y'all acting like I did something wrong. I'm like, oh, you're not dating nobody? Well, y'all told me that I was
Right.
supposed to be this independent and have all these degrees, all these letters after my name. And I'm like, well, what about the personal life, And
Yeah.
even when I ask those questions, it's like, well, men ain't no good, and it is what it is, and you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that, you don't even have to be married. And that's one of the things that really bothered me recently. My mom specifically said, like, when you talk to somebody else, because we had a brief discussion about me desiring to remarry and actually do
Yeah.
it right this time, right?
Right.
And her thoughts, her feedback to me was, well, just don't tell him about that other situation because I know you so scorned about. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now, if this is somebody that I love, I
Right.
cannot ever not disclose that information because number one,
Right.
that's deceptive. I would never do that, especially if somebody that I love. I'm gonna let him know because he could find out, and then what's he gonna be looking at me crazy?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that was just one example. And then her just desiring me to just still connect with the person that was abusing me. It's
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
that just speaks to that mindset of wanting to just have the outer appearance of everything being all right. Because we
Hmm.
all had that auntie or big mama or even our mothers that were with a man for years. There may have been abuse going
Yeah.
on. And I even see it in the court system where these women will allow a man, and I know we're going to go into that. That's going to be a whole nother video. They will allow a man to sexually assault their daughter,
Yep.
blame the child,
Yep.
and then come to court and testify and say, well, she was being fast.
Yep.
She had the booty shorts on
Hmm.
and she tempted him. It's her fault. And I'm like, wait a
Happens
minute, but
all the
she's
time.
she's 11. She's 11.
Yep.
She's 11.
Happens all of the time. And it's unfortunate. And that's why I said we have to do another show for that.
Right.
Because someone actually commented and said mothers, I think many women will forsake their children for a man. Absolutely. And I think we talked about being on that track to getting our degrees,
Mm-hmm.
getting that corporate job so that we can be self-sufficient, we can be
Mm-hmm.
productive adults and
Right.
citizens, right?
Correct.
And also, being parentified at a young age And for those who don't know, parentified is just a child having to do parental duties themselves to care for themselves. But a child should be a child. They shouldn't have to take care of themselves.
Yes.
We'll get into that later. So when you're parentified and you realize at some point I have to look out for me. So yeah, I'm gonna go get the education so I can get, I could be more marketable. And we get these degrees, we get this job, making good money. We're in corporate America. And now, fast forward in 2021, it's a big old situation now. Don't marry those women. They're too masculine. Oh, she making all this money. What what you gonna do with her?
Yeah,
And
she
it's
don't
like,
need
wait a
you.
minute. She don't need you. Or you don't need a man. It's like, wait a minute, where's all this coming from? Wait a minute. I thought this is what we were supposed to do.
Right.
Be able
Right.
to take care of ourselves. Just because we can take care of ourselves don't mean we want to leech. Don't mean we
Right.
want to take care of a man.
Right.
It's just like match what it is that I have going on or greater,
Yes, absolutely.
And it's so sad that society now are shaming the women who are educated. They're shaming the women who are self-sufficient and are modern. It's really unfortunate. It's like all we want to do is do something more than just go to high school and get a high school diploma. We really want to get educated. We wanted to be just go out here and stretch our minds a little bit. Because I know my thoughts were, I don't want to just get a standard job. I know I want to help people. What do I need to do that? And I'm glad I had friends around me that some of them had worse off situations than me. And they were just like, yeah, I'm getting out of here. I'm going away to school.
Yeah.
I'm doing something. And I was like, well, I'm not going away to school, but I'm going to go to school. And so that's what I did. I worked full-time during daytime, and I went to UDC at night. And so I went with the older crowd in the evening. I mean, it was still some mothers, young mothers sprinkled in here and there. And then for my master's, I went to Howard. And that was just a totally different experience, but it was still a rich, good experience. And, some of those girls are way more successful than I am. And some of them have run into the same thing. We're now too masculine. You're too independent. Right. You're too strong. And it's just like, what are we supposed to do with this?
What do I do? Your career, I've heard that a lot. You're leading with your degrees, and it's like, and that's a whole nother discussion with relationships and how that upbringing can result in unbalanced and unhealthy relationships. Because I started seeing, like, at 25 that I was attracting men that were leeches, like you mentioned. Like, they were literally like, okay, I want what you have. Like, I want to move in with you. You got this, right? You got this condo, so I want to move in with you in the condo. And you got the car, so you gonna be at work. The car gonna be sitting in the parking lot. So let me just ride your car while you at work.
Girl, that is the worst. I like for my car to be sitting still while I'm at work. I mean, I've had girlfriends who do that. I had a girlfriend one time. Her boyfriend said he was using the car for work, and I happened to, in my jobs, I had to go from client house or different agencies. Girl, I was in the shopping center one day, saw her boyfriend ride by and had all these dudes in her car. I was just like, and guess what? I didn't say one word. Not one word. That ain't my business. That is not my business. I don't get involved in that. I act like I didn't see it. Yeah, Jody from Baby Boy.
Right.
I didn't say one word. I mean, they was in there smoking. I mean, I just was like, I didn't see
nothing. Right. But see, Wendy, I'm different. I'll be hinting toward her, like, look, what was you driving yesterday? Was you at the shopping center? That's what I would do. Because I'd be like, look.
I used to do that until I realized that women are going to believe their men. Because guess what the man going to say?
You're right.
Wendy's single.
Right.
She jealous.
Yes.
And it's like, sir, you cheat on her 90 miles going south.
Yeah.
Okay, you're a liar.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, her pH balance has been thrown off by your
All the way
dirty.
off. Yes.
So, what exactly is there to envy about that again?
Right. Right.
Because she
Right.
calls me crying, she calls me fussing and cussing about it. So, what exactly am I envious of again? So, just like you said, your mom wanted you to go back to a abusive marriage
Mm-hmm.
where in her mind that's normal. She wanted grandkids. She wasn't thinking, she wasn't connected to you in that nurturing kind of way to be like, you know what, I need my daughter to be safe.
Right.
Grandkids or not, I don't want her with an abusive person.
Right.
But
Exactly.
I thank God that you had enough wisdom to know that that is not right for you. So again, that's you showing that you chose what was best for you.
Right.
And it was so many different things that you mentioned, and I was just like, girl, you were on a journey of just like, I'm going to do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have a better relationship with myself. I want to heal from all these different unhealthy coping mechanisms,
Mm-hmm.
different mindsets. And you did that when you walked away from your marriage and did not look back.
Correct.
Because there's a lot of women our age
Mm-hmm.
who are just like, I want to look good for the gram. I want to put this picture
Yes.
up.
Yes.
I, Me, my husband, and our kids.
Yes.
And it's like, ma'am, half of your circle knows that you're pretty much single.
Right.
Like
Right.
like
Yeah,
your
for real.
husband lives a single lifestyle.
Right.
But some women will stay. And guess what? Some of their mothers have told them, stay. Who gonna want you
Yes.
as a single mother with those kids?
Exactly.
Stay,
Exactly.
deal with the devil versus going out there trying to find somebody new. And even do y'all remember the singer Michelle A, who used to date Dr. Dre, and she has a child with Dr. Dre? I saw her documentary not too long ago because I never watched it before.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Dre used to get drunk allegedly and
Mm-hmm.
would beat her.
Uh-huh.
And even beat her, he would abuse her just in the studio.
Yeah.
Like everybody was scared of Dre back in the day, allegedly. And he was very abusive to Michelle A,
Allegedly. Yes.
allegedly.
Allegedly. Yes.
And he didn't even connect with his son. He didn't know his son's name. Would tell her, shut that baby up, because that was portrayed in the movie. And also he hit her, I think either with the back of the gun or something once, or his fist. I think it was
Ooh.
his fist. Just being drunk one night, hit her with his fist. She said she almost lost her eye. And her
Wow.
grandmother told her, that man takes good care of you.
See?
We ain't have no man taking care of us.
See?
You go back home and you make it work and don't upset him.
Mm.
So you're going to blame the victim. And that is something that happens so many times. And I pray that the millennial mothers, the mothers, younger than us in their 20s, and any young
Mm-hmm.
girls that hear this, just because you saw it happen in your household, just because
Yes.
your mama went through it, your aunties, your grandma, it was not right. It is not right. It's
It's not.
abuse, emotional, physical, financial, sexual abuse. It is unacceptable.
Spiritual. You got to add spiritual in there
Spiritual,
too.
yes, yes. It is unacceptable. And I pray that you talk to somebody about it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel like you have to suffer in silence. And I do have a very unique take on getting involved in people's domestic issues, because I've had it to where a friend got me involved in something, and her partner at the time was saying he was going to pistol whip me. And
That's
so,
just crazy.
and he's known to do those things to people and assaulted several females that I knew.
Oh
So
no.
I'm just like, oh hell.
Like no.
So that's why I said I learned I don't tell nobody nothing. I don't care what I see your man
See,
doing. I'm so
I
sorry,
understand
sister.
that.
I'm so sorry, sister. I can't get involved because I've seen too many women flip on their friends. It's
Yeah.
happened to me many times. So I just learned to just not even deal with it. Um, and it's been very fruitful for me. Let me just
There
say
you
that.
go. There you
It's been
go.
very fruitful. Let me read some of these comments real quick. Let's see. A woman will stick with a bad marriage, especially if they are heavy in the black church. Let's not even get started on the black
I
church,
know we
child.
can't even go there with me because it's like it's
Ooh!
so deep that I could speak for hours on that alone.
Woo.
That's yeah, you're right.
Let's not even get started on the black church. Anyway, yeah, but you're right. You're absolutely right with that comment.
Yes, 110% right. Yes.
My, my best friend said married and single. Listen, they don't care as long as those pictures look good on social media.
Yep. Yep.
They don't care that their husband is creeping or whatever the case may be. They don't care.
Uh-huh.
So
Got
when you don't
multiple kids by other women.
care, yeah. So when you don't care, I don't care. I
Yep.
mind my business. And didn't know his son's name. Yeah, allegedly that was what the story portrayed with Dr. Dre and Michelle A, that up until she moved out and actually left him, he would refer to that his son as that baby.
Woo.
So yeah, and I'm gonna leave that alone. So anyway, moving right along. Somebody said there's a song by Silk called "Baby Check Your Friend." You all should listen. Okay, baby, check
Okay.
your friend. Lord,
That just
Lord.
sounds like something else. Like,
Yes, it
woo.
sounds like something else. Oh my gosh. So Kai, tell us, oh, so you had mentioned that you so when you moved away, when you finished college, did you stay away? Because you're in Texas, right?
Yes.
But that's not where you're from. Okay, and so give us a quick rundown of you deciding you wanted to move and
Okay.
you experienced some challenges with deciding to move.
Okay. So my desire to move, I had that desire. It was like literally in high school. And I had never moved to Texas. I had never even been to Texas. I
Okay.
had no family in Texas, but I knew I had to be here. So that was
Oh, so
like,
wait, you didn't go to college in Texas?
no, I did not. Because
Ma'am.
I was told that if I go to school in another state, something could happen to me. In
Oh.
which that is true, right?
Hmm.
Something could happen to you anywhere, right? So
Anywhere.
I was terrified to even apply to out of state schools because I wanted to, but I
Hmm.
literally applied to two state schools, stayed in the state. It was far enough for me to drive there and have, like kind of that away from home experience.
Hmm.
So I still lived in the dorms and everything. So my undergrad, I spent, in the same state, went to a state school, had fun. I mean, did everything you could imagine.
Yep.
Had a blast. And then I waited a few years. I started working. And then I went back to get my master's degree.
Hmm.
And so I got to a point, I would say like around 2012, I was like, you know what? I'm sick of this. I was like, if I stay here, it's going to end real bad.
Yeah.
And real bad can mean a whole host of things, right? And so I decided that I was going to, in the next couple of years at that point, just decide of where I was going to move. So I had three states in mind, and I was like, I'm going to narrow it down by 2020 or 2014 or whatever.
Okay. Hmm.
So once I set a state that I wanted to move to, what I started to do, and I encourage people to do this anytime you want to move to another state, go to events. And I know we're in COVID and all this stuff is different and changing by the day, which,
Yeah.
whatever. But I would literally, if I wanted to go to a concert, like let's just say I wanted to go see, I mean, whoever, let's just say Sade, right?
Uh-huh.
If she was if her tour was in my city, I wouldn't go to that performance. I would go to the one in Dallas. And so
Okay.
that would give me kind of like an experience of like, the city life and what it would be like if I was there, if I lived there.
Okay.
And so that's how I started to like kind of feel comfortable to move out here because I was like, you know what? I love it out here. I love the area. I'm gonna just take a leap of faith and just do it. And so that's what I did. Finally, I decided, let me just start applying to jobs because I wasn't that crazy to just like move like that. But what I did was I applied to several jobs, and about 3 months later, I got a call for an interview. And so I flew out here and went to the interview. By the time I got back to my hotel room, I had got the job. So I was like,
Wow.
it's all lining up. This is for me. This is where I'm supposed to be. I mean, everything was perfect. Timing was absolutely perfect. And so that's how I got here. But in that process, I didn't tell nobody. I
Mm.
mean, it was to the point where it was like my parents was like, "Are you?" Because they knew I was flying here, for different events and stuff like programs. And I was like actually trying to go back to school. So I was actually planning on going to a school out here to even further my education and my debt even more.
Yeah.
And was going to these events. And so they were like, "Are you pregnant?" Or my dad asked that. My dad asked that. He was like, "Are you pregnant? Are you seeing somebody out there?" I was like, "No, I'm trying to live my life." But I
Mm-hmm.
got to get up out of here where I'm at because I feel like I'm literally like in a cage. So once I decided to move, like when I tell you the floodgates of just blessings, opportunities start opening up. I mean, people that I didn't know, they knew I was here. They were like, "Hey, I got this," like giving me
Mm.
furniture and stuff. It was just even simple things like that. Once you're in your purpose where you're supposed to be and you
Mm.
listen to, I don't care if you don't believe in God, but if
Yeah.
you're listening to that like still voice or your
Mm-hmm.
gut or whatever you want to call it, listen to that because that's where it's supposed to be guiding you in your life. and
Yes.
and I attribute every decision that I've made to that guiding direction because I can't take credit for any of the positive things that have ever happened because I just give him the glory because
Yeah.
again it can't be me because if it's me I would have jacked this thing up a long time ago,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I had to just be led, and I was just like going with the flow. And it wasn't any. It was resistance. It was bumpiness around, every corner, every now and then. I'm not gonna say it was just perfect, but there were times where things were just working out, and I was like, wow, this is really amazing. So when I did do that, there was so much resistance that I didn't literally tell. I told nobody. Literally, it was like when I got my offer letter and the start date, and when I had
Mhm.
turned in my resignation letter at my current job at that time. That's when I told people because I knew in like 3 weeks I was gonna have to literally leave.
Right.
And because I knew it was gonna be so much resistance to that change,
Who
and
was the
me
resistance going to be coming from?
it was my mother, right? And I knew in that instance it was coming from a place because she cried. She was telling me that she was kind of confused about it and not really understanding the reasoning why. And I told her, I said, this is my journey. Like, this is what I need to do in my life.
Right.
It's not about you anymore. It's not about appeasing anybody in the family. This is my journey. I have to live for me. And I got to make sure that everything that I do going forward is a reflection of what I want to do. Because if anything happens haphazardly, it's going to be on me regardless. You're not
Yeah.
going to have to deal with it. It's going to be on me. So that's what I had to literally just stand firm on saying, okay, I know this is going to work out. This is going to be a good experience to get out of what I know to be the norm. And
Mhm.
when I tell you so much has happened just in being in another environment, it has helped me to grow. It's helped me to just experience different things from different people and to just live freely, live in what I want to do because I don't have people judging the decisions that I've made and still being disappointed in
Yeah.
me. Despite every positive thing I've made, I still hear that somebody is disappointed about who I am today.
Wow.
That's why.
And that's usually from family, right?
Exactly.
And I want to commend you. My girlfriend says sometimes we have to move in silence. She has
Yes.
taught me, and I'm still learning. She don't say nothing about things that she is working on or goals that she is smashing. You don't know about it until it's already done. And then she
Done.
said, "Oh
Okay.
yeah, I bought a house, y'all." I'm like, "What? You bought another house?"
Right. Right. But
She
that's
is
so
like,
true.
she's that private, and when she says, Wendy, people closest to you sometimes they want you to stay the same or they want to block it because they don't want you, people want you to do well but they don't want you to do better than them. That's some true
Yes.
stuff. And so I know, there was a time when my mom told me that I should just work full time and help her pay bills versus going to doing school, because she didn't know what my plan was. I wanted to work full time still and go to school because I know I had to get out of her household, honey. Okay.
Yes.
Because because my father was educated, but he died like 2 weeks before my 18th birthday.
Oh my goodness. I'm so
So I
sorry.
didn't have his support or help. But I know that he always told me, I don't care what you do with your degree, just get one. It
Mm.
makes you more marketable. Do something different than what you have been shown in your household. He said, I want you to even be better than me. So I
Yeah.
always keep those things in the back of my mind, but everybody doesn't have a parent to say that to them. But you are a demonstration of you went with what was in your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't allow the guilt because, to be honest, I'm a mommy's girl too at heart because I always want to appease her and please her and accommodate her no matter what it was. So if
Mm-hmm.
my mother would have cried about something, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
She used to have me like that. Not anymore. But I used to be like that in my early 20s, like, oh my God, and even sometimes now, some things, even doing this series, I could have been done this, but I always have to think about how it's going to affect my
Yeah.
family, how's
Mm-hmm.
it going to affect my mom. And so I realized at the end of the day, I have to speak truth. I encourage
Mm-hmm.
other people to do it. I have to speak it because I have to set myself free because man is not going to give you permission to set boundaries
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people benefited from us not having boundaries, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And I'm telling you, it is a blessing to not tell everybody everything you're working on until that thing is done or the day before you launch. Like, hey, y'all, this is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. No, that's real.
Yeah, especially if you realize they have a spirit of jealousy and envy on them. Like, you got to call a thing a thing. And I know I've struggled with that. I'm just like, no, they're not jealous. Trust me, I've learned.
Right.
I've
Right.
learned. Okay.
Right.
Somebody said absolutely. Alexandra said, amen. I feel the same way, Kai. Yeah, listen, you have to do what's best for you. And Kai has given us repeated examples. And that's why I chose her because I was like, you moved away, although your mama didn't want you to move away. How dare you? You know what I'm saying?
But Wendy, I gotta say something. I have to interject this too because I don't want to make it seem like Again, I said I can't take the credit because I give him the glory, right?
Yeah,
So that's the foundation of it.
absolutely.
But through this process, what I've learned the hard way, you have to glean on people that are going in the direction that you want to go in.
Mhm.
So when I tell you, I had to do research. If
Yeah,
I've always been girly, girly, so I've always, wanted to just be undergirded under the umbrella of women that were just feminine and just, had it, going on basically,
yeah,
And so that's what I started to do, like working on my femininity, because I had to scale down all of that masculinity.
masculine
Oh, I'm gonna go get
energy.
it. I'm gonna go get it. I had
We
to
so
scale that down.
masculine.
Yeah. And I was attracting, men that were more,
Yeah,
users.
yeah,
And so because of that, I had to literally learn ways in which I had to, focus on trying to, glean on people that were doing the things that I wanted to do.
yes.
I could not have done this alone. There were people on my path that I had to literally use to keep me upright, at
Mm-hmm.
sometimes because I couldn't go back to my family because they had no clue. They didn't know what I was talking about. So I had to get people in those areas, in those sectors, to
Yeah,
help me to be able to figure these things out because I'm like, it costs money. I
yeah,
don't know how to do some of these things. And I had nobody telling me. So I had to be able to seek out those people that could help me. So when I tell you, if y'all don't get nothing else, please seek counseling because
yes.
everybody needs counseling.
Mm,
Everybody needs guidance. And I think that's one of the main issues in the African American community. We do not seek assistance in the areas that we need help in mental health. And
yes.
that's why I'm a proponent of mental health. I discuss it all day, every day. And until I'm gone on this earth, I'm going to continue to discuss mental health and how it's super important for our community to address those mental health issues because again, that's really what all this boils down to, the mental state, those
Yeah.
cognitive distortions. We talk about that all the time in social work,
Mm-hmm.
in the line of work that I do. The thought process that's skewed, that you think you're doing something the right way just because grandma did it and just because your mama
Yeah,
did it. You mentioned that earlier. We have to stop the cycles. Those
yeah,
generational curses will continue
yeah.
because that's why they're there, to continue the same toxic cycles. And it
Mm-hmm.
has to be somebody that breaks those bonds,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to have more for
Yep.
yourself, have more for your family. When you have a family, have more for your community. It's so important. And so that's why I always tell people, please get help, set boundaries, okay?
Mm.
Because if you don't set no boundaries, if 2020 didn't teach me anything, it would be to set
That
boundaries,
boundaries.
okay?
Yes.
Because when
Yep.
I was working from home, I could not sometimes, this is my peace. My home is my peace. My home is
Yes.
my
Yes.
place of, tranquility.
Refuge.
Yes, refuge. But when I had to bring work home, dealing with sex offenders, I was like, on me. This negative toxic energy was on me, and I had to find a way to create those boundaries because I had clients trying to call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, no, I know you have a mental health issue, but you're not going to call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and think it's okay. That's a whole another issue that we're going to have to address later. But
Yeah.
those boundaries are super important in any type of relationship. And
Yes. Yes.
I just want to kind of drive that home. You got to create boundaries because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, your stress level is going to be high. And
Yep.
we always talk about weight loss and stuff. I'm an emotional eater. Okay, I cry at the drop of a
Mm.
hat. Okay, I want a cupcake right now. Okay, like literally. But and I hope my nutritionist is not watching. But like those are boundaries that we have to
Yeah.
set up, right? Because
Yes.
if we allow ourselves to just do whatever we want to do and allow
Yeah.
other people to impose themselves on us, we are going to be a hot mess. And we won't
Yeah.
be worth nothing for the things that we need to do, the things that God has called for us to do in the world. And I had to
Mm.
learn that the hard way, Wendy, because
Mm.
I had been depleted in several different areas with family. Okay. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about friends. I'm talking about
Yeah.
family have depleted me. And then
Yeah.
I'm no good at work. I'm no
Yeah.
good doing what I have been called to do.
Yeah.
So get
Yeah.
me counseling. I'm in counseling. I have a counselor. Yeah, I have a
That's
therapist. Yes.
good.
You
That's good.
know?
And I'm a proponent for mental health counseling also. So I'm going to ask you like a rapid fire question or two.
Okay.
Quick, short answers. So with the because what you experience, what you described has been emotional abandonment and neglect, right?
Yes.
Even though you
Uh-huh.
had a able, willing, working place, your mom's an entrepreneur, mom in the
Yes.
home.
Yes.
It's not like she was disabled or strung out on drugs or anything like
Correct.
that. Because a
Right.
lot of times people tend to think, oh, well, your mom had to be on drugs or something was wrong. No, that is not always the case, okay? That's not the case. My mother got work daughters that love her. And if they heard half of the stuff I say, they were probably
Oh,
trying to fight me because
Wendy.
they're really protective of
Yes.
her. I mean,
Yes.
my mother got work daughters like everywhere that love her. And I think you told me your mom worked with children too.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I'm sure they love her.
Yes, very nurturing, and just perfect.
But it's like, why did it skip us? But anyway, so the rapid fire questions, I think I'm gonna ask two or three. So with the emotional abandonment, like not feeling safe enough to share with your mom, and bond and have that nurturing connection with her, did that affect how you saw yourself and your self esteem? Yes or no?
Yes, self-esteem was shot. Absolutely,
Yep.
yes.
Okay. Also, did it affect the way you had a relationship with your friends?
Yes, and so that those relationships with that sorority that I mentioned earlier, toxic because I didn't know how to pick friends. It,
Yeah.
it affected even
Mhm.
picking discerning
Yeah.
people's intentions, and
Yeah.
so
Absolutely. Like I was a people pleaser.
yes.
So, I didn't have good boundaries. And if I did set a boundary with a friend, it was because I was frustrated or upset with them.
Mhm.
And when we were cool again, then I kind of let the boundaries fly out the window. And then when I'm disrespected again or I'm hurt, then, they basically did not take me seriously.
Mhm.
Because if I can disrespect you and still go out with you and party and hang out with you, you didn't mean anything when you talked to me about that boundary anyway, girl. So be quiet, child, and just deal with
Right.
deal with
Right.
this disrespect that I'm
Get
about to
your
give
purse
you.
and come on, let's go.
Yes, and that's I have friends who literally like I would tell them, something hurt my feelings, and they're like, "Girl, you being dramatic." Anyway, let's go.
Yeah.
And and that's how my
Yes.
mother. And when I thought about it, like, that's how my mother was very dismissive. Like,
Yes.
girl, sit down. I don't want to hear that. You know,
Right.
and it's like,
Right.
no, but like, I'm serious.
Yeah. This is
But
important.
that's why we have to understand that setting boundaries. You don't do it out of anger. You don't do it
Hmm.
out of trying to control somebody, because you can never
Right.
control somebody. I'm a big proponent now that I'm wiser. Allow people to show you who they are.
Yep.
You know, I don't want to try to control you with a boundary because I don't want you to lie to me or do something wrong. I want you to do it. I give people enough rope to hang themselves.
Yes.
You
Yep.
know, I mean, but I will tell you, you know, I don't like when you do XYZ. I'm very specific. I'm straight to the point so that you cannot say you did not know.
Right.
Oh,
Yep.
you know. You
Yep.
knew and you didn't care.
Hmm.
And so we have to be very clear about the boundaries that we set and stick to them. Do it in love. You don't have to do it when
Yes.
you're angry. You don't have to put people down who hurt you. That's not love.
That's right.
That's
That's
not
right.
that's not how God would want you to do it anyway. That's
Exactly.
why it backfires when our motives are not right about how we do it.
That's right.
And I'll do a video on boundaries. I think I have one more question for you, but let's see what these good people said. Miss Karen says the relationship with God is always first and most important. Absolutely.
Yes.
Um,
Always.
it'll set you apart and helps you to focus on your goals. Yes, I'm learning not to tell everything to everyone. That is huge for me. You hope for the best and expect the best. Yes. We got hand claps. Thank you guys. Your safety too plays an important role with boundaries. Hashtag your emotional wealth. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, Wendy. Oh my God. Absolutely. Yeah. Please don't set boundaries out of anger. Because
Yeah.
9 out of 10, the person you're setting a boundary with, you care about.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know, and you want people to take you seriously and know that you're doing it out of love. You know, thank you guys for your comments and feedback. You want them to know you're doing it out of love. Even though we were raised in a bunch of masculine energy, I truly believe that our mothers did the best that they could with what they had. And some of them just were not emotionally safe. Some of them weren't emotionally mature. And, you know, when you keep dealing with stress and trauma and drama, and then you have to raise a child, pay bills, I'm not justifying or excusing anybody's trauma or experiences of their parents, but I'm just saying, I know when I first moved out and I had moved into a building, I didn't know this because I just knew I wanted to live in a nice neighborhood. That's all I knew, me and my roommate. And I know that I was working full time and going to school 4 evenings out of the week. And so I noticed every time somebody moved out, our I think it was our water bill. Our water bill went from like $50 for 2 bedroom apartment to 1 month it was like 195. Then it went to 200 or something dollars. I
Oh,
said, ho 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 ho.
they
And
playing.
what it was is that they what they did was the more people moved out, they made us pay the water for the building.
Wow. Wow.
And so I already was working part time, trying to still live on my own to show my mother I can do it, honey. I don't have to live with you.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't support me no way, girl. I'm going to show you. Girl, I called my mother one day crying. I said, I apologize. I was like, if I had kids right now, I would be screaming at them because my roommate was never home. I was never home because I was always working on school. And I'm like, why is our bill so high? And guess what they told us? There was nothing we could do about it.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm just like, I don't have a man to help me out. My daddy gone. I don't have nobody to help me. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to cut back classes. So I only say all that to say, like, real life started to hit me and I
Hmm.
started to have more compassion.
Yeah.
And also the church I was in at that time was showing me the anger and the angst that I had harboring towards my mom, being more nurturing to, one child and not me. That caused me to have I had a chip on my shoulder.
Hmm.
You talk about masculine energy. I was very driven. I was the fun girl, the kiki. But you get me wrong, them bullets be the
Oh
gun right
yeah.
now.
Yes. Yes.
Them bullets be the gun, honey.
Ready to
And then
pop
I
off.
and then I'm ready to apologize. Like, wait a minute, let's talk.
Right.
And just foolishness, right? Just foolishness. But thank God for counseling. Thank God for growth.
Yes.
Thank God that I realized you have to give some people grace, because their anger and frustration is not towards you or anything that you did. It's
Right.
towards their self, not 90% of the time.
Correct. Yep. Absolutely.
90% of the time, even with my jobs, I didn't have good boundaries. I would
Hmm.
let a supervisor disrespect me. Like, if because I always gravitated to older women because I wanted that nurturing
Yep.
bonding. I had an awesome stepmom, but I wanted it from my mother.
Right.
So until I got it from my mother, I was looking for it everywhere.
Hmm.
And so I gravitated to older women,
Hmm.
and I would allow them to be disrespectful. Um, and I just felt like, okay, well, she just going through something that's not that big of a deal. Until I realized, wait a minute, I'm grown too, sis.
Right. Right.
I don't need nobody to mother me. I'm mother myself.
Right.
And that took a long time to choose me and realize that what I'm looking for, penis couldn't give it to me. No food could give it to me.
Hmm.
Nothing. These degrees ain't give it to
Money.
me. And, huh?
Money.
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 Listen, I walked away from a 6-figure job just last year with DC government. Why? Because that job was going to kill me.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't have good boundaries,
Yeah.
working on reports at 2, 3 in the morning. I didn't have good boundaries,
Yeah.
but I felt like families needed me. I needed to do good, good work and all of that good stuff. And it was another way for me to neglect myself. That's what it was. I hid behind my work. And so now, I hear, stay away from the masculina, stay away from those who are, if she's too attached to her job, don't marry her.
Hmm.
And that's the truth, because when I was grind for the last 5 years, I was married to the money. I was married to the grind. And mind you, I was surrounded by married women.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so for me, if they're doing it, it's not a bad thing.
Right.
We're here trying to save children and families and
Yeah.
reunify them. I think I may have done a removal or two. Had to do some CPS work too, but not all the time. I was more so finding the child permanent placement, whether that's reunification, adoption, or guardianship. And it's a lot that you go through when you're doing that, because a lot of the mothers who kids were either taken away from domestic violence issues or whatever reason they were removed, a lot of those mothers had issues with their mothers.
Hmm.
But grandma would come to meetings like, I'm holier than thou, my
Oh
life is together. I'm
yeah.
like,
Wait a minute, Grandma.
grandma, you're not going to tell me your daughter just got this about the clear blue sky.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And sometimes I was fooled. And I realized, even with those grown daughters, they never wanted to get to, how did you get to this, to where you let a man beat you and your kids there go near to death? How did this happen? Why did you allow this?
Right.
And when they finally come out and say it, my stepfather used to beat the heck out of me. I'm like, what? Your mother says she don't know where you got this from. Hold on. And look, I was ignorant enough. I'm gonna talk to grandma about it. Yes, I am.
What you
Because
do
what she's
like
not
that?
about to do, because I did have some grandmothers that were very divisive,
Hmm.
who would say to their grandkids, your mother got you in this situation. She chose
Hmm.
a man over you, or she chose the bottle over you. Stuff you should not say to a child.
Right.
And so I'm like, grandma, if you're going to give the kids that part, you need to give them the whole part.
That's
So
right.
yeah, I had a grandma to report me because they did not really care for me too much. But I'm just like, you're not going to emotionally traumatize a child any more than they already are.
Right.
Not on
Exactly.
my watch.
And your
you know,
priority is that child, not the grandma or even the parents.
yeah. And I'm just like, how about we speak positively instead of highlighting all the wrong that mom have done? I'm like, because if mom worked with me, she's going to turn this around. She follow her court orders and work with me. She's going to turn this around and get her kids back. Cause that's how I am. I was never one to I mean, I'm gonna be real with you because you do need to know this behavior, this mindset, this temper, mom, is what got you in this problem.
Right.
Go to therapy. So many of our Black people don't like therapy. Even working class professionals,
Right.
educated professionals are like, I'm
And
like,
it
wait
really is
a
a
minute.
benefit. It's a benefit. You know, they work for this benefit and they don't use it. It's like,
You know,
okay.
you know what's so crazy? I just thought about this. I'm sorry, y'all. I remember this person had a high position in the agency, and she basically spoke down to an African American man who was taking care of his grandson, right? Because daughter had some anger issues. So this guy, he drove a nice Lexus truck, but his shoes was like so old. He never dressed well. Like he just, you would think he don't have no money. He just an old man trying to do the right thing to help his grandson. Long story short, his payment, his foster parent payment had got screwed up. So this lady in this high position thought she could talk to him any old kind of way. And she did. Okay. She thought, oh, this little old Black man, whatever. She was okay. And so she disrespected him and told him, you should be glad you're getting a payment from us anyway.
Oh.
We'll get it right when we get it right. Do not call me again.
Hmm.
This man who looks like whatever, he was connected. Okay.
Mm, mm.
Connected. He contacted somebody at the mayor's office.
Oh wow.
Literally, in less than 24 hours, there was two huge meetings about him feeling like the
Ooh,
Alexa, stop.
Alexa, get our business.
So basically, what happened was he felt like, there was some ism going on there. She talked to him very, negatively. Oh, wait a minute, it's look like it's frozen up. Are you still there, Kai? Kai, are you there? Do you have to go out and come back in? Uh-oh. Let's see if we have her go out and come back in. Uh-oh, it knocked her out. Okay, so hopefully she come back in because I was going somewhere with that crazy story. Thank you guys for joining us. Be patient. We're wrapping up in like 5 minutes. Looking for Kai to come back in, and once she come back in, then I'll wrap up. But I was going somewhere because that story is will tell you about no matter what education level some people have, they just don't believe in therapy. They don't want no parts of it, none at all. Do you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts? Put them in the comment section now because we're wrapping up. Thank you guys for joining us. You could have been doing anything, so I appreciate you guys. Where is Miss Kai? Oh, her thing went out. So as we wait for Miss Kai to come back, just to finish the story. So basically, because the mayor's office got involved, guys, this woman, she was forced to apologize to the Black grandfather, and she was devastated. I mean, she was crying and screaming in her office. And so this white guy who's not even in my administration, he told my supervisor, hey, have Wendy go up there, console her. She's falling apart. He didn't have to do that to her. Oh, so you have a sympathy for the white woman who just talked trash to this Black grandfather. And so I was like, I'm not going to console anybody. That's outside of my duty. Okay. That's not in my job description. I'm not here to console somebody with a higher pay grade than mine. That's not going to happen. And so she was crying because she got caught. She was crying because she had apologized. And so I said, if she has a therapist, that's who she needs to call. I'm not going to console her. And my supervisor was like, well, Wendy, he's the she's the ombudsman. If anybody's from DC government, oh well. So anyway, they were like, Wendy, she's just devastated. Right. Call your therapist. Oh, she doesn't, I don't think she has a therapist. She's not going to do that. Okay, well, she don't need me to help her. And I was just sitting around looking at all these professionals. I'm like, what's wrong with a therapist? Y'all don't think she need one? Y'all don't think she need one? She's crying and screaming because she got caught. She don't give a crap that she disrespected that man. She did not care at all. And that's why I did not go to go console her, because you should be careful how you treat people, because you don't know who people know, okay? Because he knew somebody. That's how he was able to call somebody at the mayor's office and have them call and address the situation in less than 24 hours. You real connected if you're able to do that in DC. Therapy is a bad word for Black folks. It really is. I don't know why it's still like that in 2021. Like, really, what's going to happen? But you know what? People are afraid that they won't know how to handle bringing up certain tough, traumatic experiences. They feel like they're not going to know how to handle it. They're not going to know if they'll like their mother, their father, or whoever may have hurt them. Guess what? That's why you have a therapist there to help you process those emotions. Don't be afraid. Grandma and Papa line. Karen had to apologize. Listen, Karen had to apologize, and she was so angry with life. She had to apologize to a Black man. She probably was upset. Who does he know at the mayor's office? It don't matter. You had to apologize. Crazy. Therapy is so refreshing. Thank you. And to this day, you still hear people say, "Oh, I don't need to go to therapy. That's for crazy people." That just irritates me so much, but it just shows that people are ill-informed, and the only thing we can do is keep on spreading the word. People cannot handle their demons and skeletons. That's what it is. They cannot handle it, and that's why I love that we're in an era where the Karens are being exposed. Because it's not right. It's not right. But thank you guys. If you don't have any further questions, I just wanted you guys to see overall that you have to choose yourself, period. Your family will make you feel guilty for choosing yourself, for doing something differently. It does not matter. Let them, hold on, here's my guess. Let them judge you. This is for all my Black sheeps, all those who feel like they're by themselves. You are not by yourself. Miss Kai.
Sorry, baby. When I tell you, I have 3 devices. Okay, every phone died.
Ooh.
I mean, when I tell you, I got my iPad, it's dead, literally.
Wow.
The phone died. This one, my work phone. I was trying to download Instagram on the work phone. I'm like, oh, we must have been, crushing some giants, because there is no way. I had everything all ready to go. And when I tell you, everything just went out. I couldn't use nothing. Yeah. So I apologize. I am so sorry.
That's quite all right. I had just ended the story about what I was telling you about the granddad, and then I was asking them for any last questions or concerns. Do I do these weekly? So I was doing it for the month of October, Surviving Mama Trauma. I'm still going to be doing it in November. I'm looking for 2 men. Guys, I'm looking for 2 men to join. You have an opportunity to share it from your perspective, because when I start letting these women know my perspective on men with mama trauma, you're not going to like Wendy Wisdom anymore. So I'm giving you an opportunity, because I get men that DM me all the time. Oh, your post is a little biased. Listen, I'm not ever here to bash Black men or Black women, but I'm going to speak a little truth. I'm a woman, so I know I've gone through some stuff. My sisters have gone through some stuff. So I'm going to sometimes call it out. Talk to your raggedy, dusty male friends. Tell them get themselves together. Period. I love y'all. I love and respect and adore Black men, but it's like, if I have to say it to my brothers, why do you think I ain't going to say it to y'all? You have to be honest. I do it in love, but I'm not going to ever be here trying to be hard on women and just leave men to the side. No, sir. No, sir. So that's why I tell the guys about DM all the time. It's nothing personal. If you want to address whatever Black men, I suggest you lead Black men. I can't tell men how to be a man. Do it on your platform. And they don't do it. So I'm looking for 2 men. Please, somebody. I'm looking for 2 men So I'll be posting more about that. Kai, do you have any last minute thoughts or anything you want to get to the good people, honey?
Again, I'm so sorry about the malfunction and the technology issue, but I just want to encourage people to, set boundaries. I don't care if it's at work, if it's in your relationship, if it's with your relationship with family members. Set those boundaries so you can be set free and
Yeah.
be able to live the life that you want to live on purpose. And it's everything is up to you. It's in your hands. Obviously, we have God and we have, the things that we, have in our spiritual foundations, but it's really on you. Your life is going to be dependent on how you want to live it, and that is going to consist of boundaries. So I'm just encouraging everybody to use some boundaries. Also, you can come to, I have a business page. It's called Promise in Purpose. So check it out. I will be launching my website soon. So I'm having a lot of, events and goodies coming up. So look forward to that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, that I'm stepping out, on faith, allowing no fear to hinder anything that I'm doing. So I'm encouraging you guys to eliminate the fear, and the worst that can happen is that you're there, you're doing it, so that's all I'm gonna say. And then can I plug one last thing? There's an event going on tomorrow. I know a great nutritionist, and he is with Peer Pantry Health. I think he's on here. He has nutrition plans and everything, but he also is an expert in finance. He has an event tomorrow. So if you are interested in that, please check out Peer Pantry Health here on IG or peerpantryhealth.com. He has amazing events, going on. And so he does with mental health as well. So, and children, and the elderly, he specializes in those areas too. So I just want to kind of plug that because we're talking about all that good stuff. So please, reach out to Wendy. She does coaching. You do coaching, and I do some coaching too on the side and some consulting work. So please reach out to us. It's nothing wrong with having somebody just guide you and consult you in whatever area that you need help and assistance in. And we are here for you. We got to help each other. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you, Wendy.
Period. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you, guys. But yes, Alexandra, I'll be doing this. I want to say to middle November. But I really want some men also. So, let's spread the word, have the men, reach out to me if you know any. Thank you. Karen says, congratulations, Kai.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So thank you, Kai. Thank you, everybody, for joining us because I don't see any other questions or concerns. Thank you, guys. And stay tuned because I have another guest, I think, next week. Stay tuned to my post. I'll let you guys know. Thanks, Kai.
Bye. Thank you, Wendy. See you guys.
Good night. Take care. Good night.